Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA. My name is Seamus Brady and today I'm going to be doing a match review of the Kerry versus Monaghan match which happened in the Allianz Football League Division 1. It finished Kerry 3-14, Monaghan 1-12 and it was in Inniskeen. Monaghan would have low-key fancied their chances of at least dragging Kerry into a bit of a scrap, but this game never really unfolded for Monaghan and Kerry got out of there with a pretty easy victory. I mean, right off the team sheet from the start, Dylan Casey finally getting his start for Kerry after starring for Austin Stacks during the club championship, and he did pretty well. Interesting enough from the start, I mean, Monaghan started pretty well. Kieran Duffy hit a gorgeous point to make it 2-0 to Monaghan. But then Gavin Crowley hit a nice point. Kerry slowly started getting back into the game. Tony Brosnan hit a gorgeous one from out on the left that made it 4 points apiece. But then from this, Kerry just tagged on another 4 points to go 8 points to 4 ahead. And then this is where it all went to pot for Monaghan. I mean, 8 points to 4 ahead going up to half time doesn't look great, especially when you consider that Monaghan would have liked to drag Kerry into a bit of a scrap where it's a 1 point game, 2 point game, a 4 point lead for Kerry. A team like Monaghan that play, you know, a bit of a slow attacking game, it's going to be hard for them to pull that back. And especially when you consider what happened in the second half. I mean, the first goal from David Clifford, poor from Rory Beggan, in my opinion. It was a hand pass over the top. Clifford beats Beggan to it by, I'd say, a millisecond. But for Beggan there, you take ball and man. You can't let Clifford take it and shimmy past you and then kick it into an empty net. Beggan has to take ball and man there. And he didn't, and ends up in the back of the net. And just like that, Kerry have such a huge, boost in this game, and it's a sucker punch for Monaghan. And then very soon after that, Beggan, who has been really one of the pioneers of this goalkeeper running outfield with the ball, he gets caught outfield, which was always going to happen. Seán O'Shea balloons it up into the attack with David Clifford is there with Kieran Duffy. And the goal is completely empty. Clifford outpaces Kieran Duffy and kicks it into an empty net. It was always going to happen at some point. At least it's happened with Monaghan in the league. They can maybe try and build in a strategy that a defender drops in if this happens. But yeah, they're always going to get caught. Someone was always going to get caught. I mean, it pretty much happened to Leitrim against London, where I think it was Chris Farley lobbed it over the Leitrim goalkeeper into net when he got caught. But now Beggan's been caught. So I think, will that change it a little bit? I don't think so. I think managers look at it and they really look into the analytics. And I think if they realize they can gain more than times that they get caught, they'll still do it. I think this goalkeeper coming outfield is here to stay, but this is one of the risks. And it got worse then for Rory Beggan and for Monaghan. Beggan had a bit of an awful day for the guy who I personally think is one of, if not the best goalkeepers in the country. He got lobbed by Seán O'Shea. Do I think he meant it? It's hard to tell. Seán O'Shea has the level of talent where, I could definitely see him meaning that. It's hard to tell if he 100% meant it, but I wouldn't be surprised. Either way, it goes over Beggan's head and into the net. A third goal for Kerry, and the game was more than over at this point. Monaghan got a late penalty. It was touched on the ground by Tadhg Morley. Kerry very frustrated with this. Noticeably, Jack O'Connor mentioned about how their record defensively had been imperious, that they hadn't conceded a goal yet, but they got caught there. Morley, it was a bit harsh, but he did touch it on the ground, in my opinion. Conor McManus took the penalty away. Monaghan hit 3 points in a row. After that, Micheál Bannigan hit the last point. It was a nice point, but game was over. Finished 3-14. Kerry 1-12 to Monaghan. Now, Monaghan had Conor McManus back for this game. They weren't really missing anyone, and they went down quite heavily. So it's a bit of a dull day for Monaghan, because I think 2018, 2019, the year when they made 2018 was their peak, in my opinion, where they made the semi-final against TROUNCE and lost by a point. I think that was, if they were ever going to win an All-Ireland with this crop, I think that was their year. I think that, you look at Conor McManus, you look at Darren Hughes, they're 35 now. How long are they really going to be around for? And then you got the young lads coming through. I'm not saying that Monaghan won't win an All-Ireland over the next few years, but I am saying that I think a passing of the torch is in order now, where the likes of Andrew Woods, the likes of Sean Jones, the likes of David Garland, they need to start coming in now and getting more minutes under their belt, especially in the league, and getting experience playing against these sides. Because the fact that they had McManus and the fact that they had Hughes and they lost, but so comfortably, it doesn't look well for them challenging for an All-Ireland later on in the year. Hopefully, if they played Kerry later on, they'd be better able to impose their style, better able to impose their will on the game. But yeah, they got some way to get back up to that 2018 team, in my opinion. As for Kerry, I mean, there's a lot of talk about the defense. I mean, this is the point that we made in the preview. It's very hard to gauge where the defense is at because they have Foley and Morley at centre back, but they haven't been tested. I don't care what anyone says. They have not really been tested, being ran at like by a Mayo. The Mayo game is going to be the one where we will see if this Kerry defense is the real deal, because I mean, they had, that fullback Foley and Morley, and they had this over the last years, and it wasn't enough. Tyrone in that All-Ireland semi-final last year just sliced through Kerry like a knife through butter for their 3 goals every time. It was bafflingly easy for an All-Ireland semi-final. The fact that Casey has only been given his start there, he has to be given more minutes because he's the man, in my opinion, to fix this, as well as Stefano Kumbar. When he comes back, he needs to be given minutes because he could be the key as well. If you do what you always do, you get what you always got, in my opinion. And the spine of the Kerry defence in the All-Ireland semi-final last year was not good enough. Now, unless this new management team that came in with Jack O'Connor, like Micheál Quirk, etc., Paddy Talley, if they've managed to, change things, the Mayo game will be where we see it. But if Mayo slice through Kerry and, get goals, then we can see that it probably won't be enough when it comes to the latter stage. That being said, they do have the firepower up front to probably score more than they concede. But for the defense, I think the Mayo game is where, we'll see. The truth will come out in the Mayo game, in my opinion, whether this Kerry defense is the real deal. Because after seeing what happened to them last year against Tyrone, that was what stopped them getting to the All-Ireland final, because their attack is absolutely fantastic, probably the best in the country. So, yeah, that's my reaction to this game. KERRY-3-14, MONAGHAN-1-12. Kerry continue to look great. The game against Mayo next week is going to be epic. Keep an eye out for all the content here on Play on GAA. And until the next one, guys, take care.